Why the brain dramatizes instead of solving problems. Today we will explore why our brain so often chooses to dramatize situations instead of calmly solving them. At first glance, this seems illogical. Wouldn't it be better to focus directly on solutions? Yet, when we look deeper into the nature of the mind, we discover that dramatization is not a mistake. It is an ancient survival strategy, deeply rooted in how our brain evolved. The brain's primary goal: safety, not happiness. Many people assume that the brain's purpose is to make us happy, efficient, or successful. But evolution gave it a different priority: survival. The brain follows a rule that can be summed up simply: better safe than sorry. Whenever reality doesn't match our expectations, the brain interprets this as a possible threat. Anxiety often arises not because danger is truly present, but because the brain prefers to overreact rather than risk missing a potential danger. Where dramatization comes from. When events seem out of control or unfair, the brain tends to magnify them. It holds our attention on the problem, making it bigger and heavier than it is. Why? Because for thousands of years, paying attention to threats was the safest strategy. Imagine an early human who heard a sound in the bushes. If he ignored it and it was a predator, he wouldn't survive. But if he got scared for nothing, he only lost a few moments of calm. Over time, cautious brains won the evolutionary game. Dramatization as a form of control. Interestingly, the brain does not distinguish between real dangers and imagined ones. For the brain, both are equally worthy of attention. Fear of a wild animal in the forest. Fear that life is unfair, or this always happens to me. Both reactions are treated as strategies of control. When we mentally replay a problem or search for someone to blame, it may look like wasted energy. But to the brain, this rumination feels like protection. As long as I keep thinking about it, I'm defending myself. In other words, dramatization creates the illusion of control. The trap of endless rumination. The problem is that this constant mental noise consumes our energy without moving us closer to solutions. We stay trapped in the loop of replaying events instead of acting. That's why procrastination often arises. We don't delay because we are lazy. We delay because the brain is busy managing inner control through worry. Exercise, the brain's movie script. Let's try a short experiment together. Recall a recent situation that upset or worried you. Something small is enough. An argument, a mistake, or a delay. Notice your first thought. Is it neutral or is it dramatic? Most likely it sounds like, "This is terrible. Why does this always happen to me? Everything is ruined now." Think of your brain as a movie director, but not of a comedy, rather of a disaster film. It automatically writes the worst possible scenario. Now step aside and ask, what's another simpler explanation? What would I say if a friend was in this situation? Observe how your anxiety lowers the moment you give the brain an alternative script. This small exercise shows the mechanism of dramatization in action. The brain generates catastrophic stories instantly, but when you consciously provide another version, even if it feels less dramatic, the tension decreases and energy becomes available for action. Why the brain doesn't switch off. From an evolutionary point of view, dramatization was a brilliant survival strategy. Being scared 100 times was better than overlooking danger once. But today, we no longer live in jungles full of predators. We live in cities, offices, and digital spaces. Yet the brain continues to turn on the same ancient program, even when the threat is nothing more than an unpleasant comment or a stressful email. Psychological insights. The negativity bias. Studies show that negative information affects us more strongly and lasts longer in memory than positive experiences. This is the brain's way of keeping us alert. Attention and threat. Neuroscientists have found that the brain holds attention on threatening images longer than on neutral ones. Our ancestors benefited from this. We inherit the effect today. Mental replays. Psychologists call this rumination, the endless replay of the same thought. It is linked to a network in the brain that becomes active when we are not focused on a task, often leading to overthinking. Why dramatization becomes harmful today? In the past, this habit saved lives. Today, it often drains energy. It blocks decision-making. We focus on why it happened instead of what to do next. It wastes energy. The mind burns fuel, creating scenarios instead of moving forward. It fuels procrastination. We feel busy thinking, but we don't take real steps. How to work with dramatization. We cannot simply turn off the brain, but we can teach it new habits. Accept uncertainty. Show yourself that life doesn't require full control and that this is safe. Shift attention. Breathing or mindfulness exercises can anchor the mind in the present, instead of in imagined scenarios. Reevaluate importance. Ask, is this truly dangerous or just uncomfortable? Small actions. Taking even the smallest step toward resolution helps redirect energy into reality, not endless replay. Dramatization is not a failure or a weakness. It is an ancient strategy for survival. But in today's world, it often traps us in endless worry, steals energy, and prevents action. Real maturity begins when we stop fighting the brain and start cooperating with it. When we recognize its protective intent, we can show it another path, one where safety does not depend on dramatization. The moment we understand that dramatization is not an enemy, but a safety strategy, we stop being its prisoners. We learn to redirect energy from worry into action. And in that shift lies true freedom. Freedom from the endless inner noise, and freedom to live with clarity and purpose.